please just think about for a moment what the average net worth of a 20-something American is. Just take a second to think about what that might be. Look, I'm shocked by this number. Hey everyone, so I think it's a really interesting idea to see where you are wealth-wise compared to the average American. Have you ever wanted to know what the average American net worth is at each age? We probably shouldn't compare against the average because there are so many things that affect the average. I mean, like a tech billionaire like Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk or someone, they're skewing the results here for everyone. Well, and everyone has their own situations. But if you want to not work in a crappy job forever, then it's good to plan out and look at these as more of a goal. And after we go through each age group, I'll tell you what I think the biggest mistake the average American is making. It's really important, especially if you're a teenager. All right, поехали. So before I start, please just think about for a moment what the average net worth of a 20-something American is. Just take a second to think about what that might be. Look, I'm shocked by this number. Okay, so for someone in their 20s, their average net worth is minus $39,000. So if you are about 20-something, this is the things to work on to get ahead. You need to start an emergency fund so that you don't have to go into debt. Well, I think you need to aim for at least 3-4 months without an income, so have that sitting aside somewhere. Another thing you should do to get ahead is you really should start investing and at least learning investing. You should start an interactive broker's account and start putting aside some of your monthly income into this brokerage account because you need to get into some good habits of saving, and that's the next point is building up these good habits are really going to help you when you get into your 30s and 40s. And probably the most important thing you should be doing in your 20s is you need to upskill your mind, because if you're not earning or learning or improving your mental or physical self, then what are you doing? This is the time you have to be doing these things. And the last thing that's really important if you want to get ahead is you really shouldn't go into debt, because this is going to set you back a long time and you're going to be paying it off probably into your 30s. Probably one of the most important things that a lot of people get sucked into, especially in America, is student loans or student debt. So look, I highly recommend don't going down this path, don't go into debt. University degree is probably not very useful anyway. So look, that's a follow on from a previous video, which you can see here, but this is going to set you back for at least a decade. Okay, now it doesn't get too much better for the average American in their 30s with their average net worth at minus $1,000. So they've just about broken even now. And if you are in your 30s, these are some of the things that I think will help you get ahead so you're better off in your 40s. So something you could do is use your skills as leverage. So find a way to get paid serious money for some of the skills that you do have. For example, do you love snowboarding? Well, start a snowboarding brand or start a snowboarding school. Or are you really a great office building architect? Well, start an architecture business focusing on office buildings. And just keep continuing to upskill yourself just like you were in your 20s through reading books and gaining knowledge. And in your 30s, if you haven't paid off your debt yet, please focus on paying down all of your high interest debt first and then pay off your low interest debt second. But you're really trying to get debt free in your 30s. Now, here are some things that will actually hold you back and that you're going to have to be at least more prepared for. And that is children in your 30s and mortgages. A lot of people in America get mortgages and that's just going into more debt and it's actually going to set them back. So by the time you're in your 40s in America, things are starting to look a lot better than in your 20s and 30s from a financial point of view, with your average net worth now being about $450,000. So if you are in your 40s and you want to get ahead, well, better than the average American anyway, is you still need to be upskilling and learning, because that's something that's going to help you out in your 50s and 60s. And in your 40s, you really want to be focusing your attention now on your retirement accounts and maxing those out. Now, your 40s on average is your serious money-making years. So you should be taking this extra income that you've got 20 years of being in the workforce now. So hopefully you're making some serious money and you should be plowing that money into long-term investments and hopefully good long-term investments. Now, the average American actually hasn't paid off their mortgage yet completely in their 40s, but if you want to get ahead, well, paying off that mortgage and becoming debt-free will give you a little bit of an advantage. And it'll also give you options, because now you're not tied to a physical location. You can maybe try Europe or a different country or something like that, and maybe improve your quality of life. Now, this is where I think the results actually starting to get a little bit skewed here, because in the average American's net worth in their 50s is about $1,175,000. But like I said before, I think this is skewed because there's some super rich people in America, those billionaires, and I think that's bumping up this average a little bit here. So maybe it's not even quite $1 million, but let's just call this the ballpark. So here are some things to work on to get ahead compared to the average American in their 50s. You want to now double down on that emergency fund because, well, health concerns and medical issues and family issues, well, you need to have that safety net now, and you really need to probably double down on that emergency fund just to give you even more freedom and more flexibility. And while you're doing that, you should max out your retirement accounts because you're getting a tax-free advantage here by maxing these out. That's a Roth IRA in America. It's superannuation in Australia. Your country will have something similar, I'm sure. So you play your money into your retirement account as much as possible because it's tax-free, and in 10, 20 years' time, you should be able to get that money back without having to pay that tax. Actually, you really should be probably maxing out your retirement accounts from as early as possible, like even in your 20s, but in your 50s, really put some effort into it. And in your 50s, if you want to get ahead, a lot of people don't really think about what they're going to do in their old age. So I think the best strategy is to try not to retire. The reason I say you shouldn't retire is because you already should hopefully love what you do. And retirement, I think, is for those people who haven't found what they love to do yet. So if you're in your 50s, work on that thing that you want to do up until you pretty much get taken out in the coffin. So this table on the screen is the savings rate for each age group. So if you're in, I don't know, as you can see, in your 60s, you should have saved up for this emergency fund about 7 times your salary. I would say, I think by in your 60s, you should have 7 times your yearly salary. And in your 70s, 9 times your yearly salary. That's pretty good. That should get you through a very part-time retirement kind of lifestyle. Now, this table is just a recommendation. So find your age here on the table and work out whether you have about, well, maybe 5 times or 3 times your salary as an emergency fund, depending on your age, of course. Now, the main message of this video is that student debt is disgusting. University costs are overinflated. There is a perception of competition. People are competing on qualification, not skill. This is nearly the biggest scam in the world. You don't need to pay $40,000 for a marketing degree to be a good marketer. Sure, doctors and lawyers, yes, they need training, I get that, but most degrees are a huge waste of money. The financial hole you get into with big student debt is just not worth it in almost all situations, and it will just mess you up for decades. So the 22-year-old starting at $0 compared to a 22-year-old starting at minus $39,000, it's almost always going to favor the person without the debt. The argument that you will get paid more in the future because of your degree is just simply not true. Your attitude and how good you are at your job is what will advance your career, not your university degree. Now, I want to say a big thank you to Matthew Lovett. Thanks for your comments and support here on the channel. I appreciate it a lot, and you are a legend. Thanks for staying to the end of the video, and I'll see you next time.